Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Mas Robi, and in this video I would like to tell about my analysis in short story. So this short story is entitled The Man in the Moon. It was written by Al Frank Baum in 1897. Yeah, this is an old story, but it get my interest because there's moon in it. Okay, and it was illustrated by Maxfield Parrish. Yeah. So without any further ado, let's go to the analysis. But first, I'm going to tell you the summary of this story. That's on my uh, perspective. So, the man in the moon is a lonesome and he lived alone in the moon. He doesn't have a name because he's the only person in the moon, so the name is not necessary for him. One day he met alderman that sailing up through the air. He met the man in the moon and told the man in the moon about the Norwich, the mighty famous city and its famous peas porridge. He wanted to go to the earth, and then he went by a moonbeam, so he go down to earth by moonbeam, but the moonbeam he took was too fast. It was too fast and get faster and faster until he fell to the river. And in that river he met a farmer and asked the direction of the Norwich. And then he got in Norwich. When he got in Norwich, the man in the moon feels very hungry. He felt hungry. And in the first home, he stopped. He knocked, and a good-looking woman opened the door, and he, the man in the moon, asked the famous peas porridge that the alderman tell. Yeah, and then a good-looking woman gave the man in the moon a bowl of cold peas porridge. But when he ate, when he ate the porridge, it feels so very hot in his mouth, and it was burnt his mouth. He was run and screamed until the policeman caught him and marched him to the magistrate, and he was being trialed there. He always said that the porridge was hot, but it was cold when a good-looking woman served the porridge to him. But it's turned hot. Why does it happen? It has happened because something cold on earth is hot on the moon. It's hot in the moon. So it's being contrary. Something hot in the moon is cold on earth, and the opposite. Okay, so get back to when he get being trialed. So the magistrate, the judge, he won't believe he won't believe what the man in the moon said. So he was about brought to lunatic asylum. Yeah, it's a lunatic asylum. But there's an old astronomer that wanted to save him, wanted to release him, because he tried to find some evidence that show the man in the moon was said the truth, not telling a lie. So, but finally, the man in the moon was, uh, what is it? Was saved, was released because the astronomer find the evidence, and then finally he got back in the moon by took an air balloon. By took balloon, yeah. So that's how the story ends. Okay, so let's continue to the analysis. So, as we all know, there are 5 elements on the text analysis. I have settings, characterization, plot, and then point of view, them. Yeah, that's it. That's 5. Okay, first, setting. Uh, the man in the moon was set on the moon, of course, in the moon, on the earth, in the river, Norwich town, and a good-looking woman's house. In the moon. Why is it located in the moon? Set in the moon because it tells about the man in the moon that lived in the moon alone. Yeah. For the evidence, we can see at from this sentence. From this line, the man in the moon was rather lonesome, and often he peeked over the edge of the moon and looked down upon the earth and invited all the people who lived together. See? He was lived in the moon. It was set in the moon. Okay, and next is on the earth. Why? When he set on the earth, when this story set on the earth. It was set on the earth when the man in the moon fell off from the moonbeam because it's getting faster and faster. Yeah, he fell off on the river, so it's in the river. It's also in the river also. The first place on earth that he visit, that he reached, is the river because he fell in the river. Okay. And Norwich town. Norwich town is the place where he met a good looking woman that gave him a porridge. Yeah, it's in Norwich town. And then a good looking woman's house. Of course, it's in a good looking woman's house because it is the house of the woman that gave the man in the moon a piece porridge, called piece porridge, but it turned hot because everything's being contrary. Yeah, cold is hot and hot is cold. Okay, that is the setting. And then the characterization. So the characterization, there's major and minor. For the major, there's only one character. It is the man in the moon. As I said, it is the man in the moon because it doesn't have a name. He doesn't have a name. So let's call it the man in the moon. So the man in the moon is dynamic. Why dynamic? Because he's the protagonist and he changed, the character change. When the character change, I mean, like, he is curious about what is it like to have a companions, and then he was screamed, like he screamed, and then he was a calm person, but he changed to be what is it, not arrogant, but yeah, that kind of person. I mean, like, he's dynamic, so his character is changed based on the situation. And then we have an alderman. So the alderman is flat because he only appears once. He is the man that told the man in the moon about the Norwich and about the piece porridge. And then we have uh, the policeman. No, yeah, the policeman. So the policeman is flat. Also is flat because he only appears one when he caught the man in the moon and he arrested the man in the moon. So he is flat. He only appears once. And then we have the farmer. So the farmer is a kind person. Yeah, we all know that. He, the one that gave the man in the moon direction to Norwich. Even he don't know exactly where is it, but yeah, he gave it to Norwich. He gave the direction to the man in the moon to Norwich. And then we have uh, a good-looking woman. So a good-looking woman is dynamic. Why is he dynamic? Because at the first place he is uh, good, he's nice, he's kind, but there's what is it? There's an expression that he said. That's why I called him dynamic, because when the man in the moon screamed because the porridge is hot, but it's cold for the woman said fiddlesticks. Nah, I think it's, you know, it's not good words, but he said that. That's why I write dynamic for his characterization, for her characterization. I'm sorry. And then we have the magistrate. The magistrate is the judge. Yeah, it's he is also dynamic because first he the one that arrest the man in the moon, that one brought the man in the moon to uh, lunatic asylum. Yeah, lunatic asylum. But after he believed that the man in the moon was told the truth, he would say sorry. He said sorry because he's not believed, and he apologized to the man in the moon. And the last, an old astronomer, he is flat because he's kind, he keep kind. He's the kind person that gave evidence to release the man in the moon, and also gave the suggestion to the man in the moon to take balloon to go up there, to go up, to get back in the moon. Okay, now we've come to plot. So I've written 6 stages. First exposition, second is crisis, and then rising action, and climax, falling action, and the last is resolution. First, expositions. It tells that the man in the moon is lonesome, and he often looked down upon the earth, and he invited all the people who lived together on earth. And one day he met an alderman that told him about uh, Norwich and its famous piece porridge. And then second is crisis, or crisis. Yeah. And then it tells that the words of alderman about Norwich and uh, its piece porridge made the man in the moon more anxious to visit Earth than ever. Okay, and then the third is rising action. It tells that everything went by contrary in the moon. Not literally everything, but it's something called in the moon is hot in the earth, on the earth, and the opposite. Yeah, so the man in the moon thought about visit the earth, his journey to earth, and then he slide down by the moonbeam. He went to the earth by the moonbeam. He slid down and then he fell in the river. After that, he met the farmer and asked the direction to Norwich. And this, the climax. The climax when the man in the moon finally reached the Norwich town. And then he felt hungry. And in the first house, he stopped and knocked. And the man and the good-looking woman opened the door and he served a cold fish porridge for the man in the moon. But it turned that the man in the moon, uh, I mean like, uh, the man in the moon was feels hot when he ate the porridge because something cold on the earth is hot for him. And then he ran and screamed because the porridge was burnt his mouth. And he was caught by the policeman and arrest him and march him to the magistrate. Okay, and the following action. The following action is when the man in the moon was judged by the magistrate, and he told the truth. The man in the moon told the truth that the porridge was hot and burnt his mouth. But the magistrate not believe it. He doesn't believe what the man in the moon said. So the man in the moon was about to brought to a lunatic asylum, but there's an astronomer that wanted to release him, and he find the evidence, and finally he was released. The man in the moon was released because he is telling the truth. And then for the resolution, the astronomer suggests the man in the moon to take balloon to get back to the moon. So the man in the moon took the balloon, and once he got home, he became the man in the moon again. So that's the story's end. Okay, now let's go to the point of view. So the point of view here is editorial omniscience. Why it's editorial omniscience, not the third person? Because the author gave comments or opinions in the narrative, in the story. For evidence, I'm going to tell this sentence. I'm going to read this sentence. What, have you never heard the story of the man in the moon? Then I must surely tell it, for it's very amusing and there is not a word of truth in it. And the next evidence is the next line is, well, the man in the man, but I nearly forget what I have just said. The man turned to the south and began walking briskly along the road. So that line is show that it is using editorial omniscience. He put comments in his opinion. What, have you never heard? It was the writer's opinion. Okay, now we've come to the last the last elements. So I've written 4 thumbs here. There's lonesome curiosity, adventure and contrary. Why is it lonesome? Because it told us about the man in the moon, that being lonesome, he has no he has no company. He lived alone in the moon. So it's about lonesome. And curiosity. Why is it curiosity? Because he is curious. What is it like to live with other people? What is it like on earth? What is it like the peace porridge? He's curious about all that thing, all that thing. And then adventure. What is it, adventure? Because it tells about the journey of the man in the moon. The journey when he uh, took the moonbeam to go to the earth and asking the direction, and finally the he met he got to narrate, I mean. And then it's contrary. Well, it's contrary, yeah, because it tells that something hot in the moon is cold on the earth. Well, I think that's all about my analysis on the short story. I know that my speaking and my analysis is still improving. So, but thank you very much for your attention to listening to my analysis, and thank you very much. See you later. Bye bye.